Insert random beginning here. Thursday, March 16th. Let's see, we have two fun stories. Should be from there. I'll go through. Tomorrow's theme is green, which hopefully you all participate in because it's for St. Patty's Day. It prevents you from having to worry about random people trying to pinch you. So worried. If you have not been paying attention this week, which I know doesn't sound like you guys, there's a quiz tomorrow.
What?
Just trying to keep you in the loop on things. So, again, been there all week. So quiz tomorrow covers all the stories from this week. As long as you've been here and paying attention, you should be fine. There are a couple of questions over grammar. There are a couple of questions that are going to make you think, and it's not quite as easy as last week's. But I think if you've been paying attention, you should be fine. Callan?
Is that Brody?
It is a Brody. And Charger Challenge now has opened up to anybody who has at least a C or higher in English, social studies, and science. And if you did it already, if you're one of those background people, you have to wait till Monday. But otherwise, you can just talk to me at the end of class, and then you are welcome to sign up if you can do it. Jordan?
Is there going to be another one after?
There's a fourth one, unless it gets canceled, which happens sometimes due to circumstances. But our goal is to have a fourth one.
What if we went there?
That would be awesome. So here, let's pick our three new people to do the one here to try to get you points.
She just did
Again,
crickets.
if you've already gone, you don't get to go again. We're going to pause at home, so you're not going to listen to them go awkwardly. No cap. Thank you very much. So we're back. So let's continue. See, did we get into? Let's do a rewind. We'll find out. So from here we had Hestia had thrown. So speedy rewindy thing. What is the issue with seeing gods in their true form?
You
You
die.
die. You like perish.
You do like perish. And then the dying, which makes them sad. So then this story begins with Zeus coming down, making friends with the human. Do you remember the human girl's name?
Simile.
Not bad. Simile. And he gives her a warning, which is,
My wife might kill you.
be careful, my wife might kill you. Gavin.
Let me do sound effects.
Sure.
Bro,
You
you
guys
can't do that.
You do crickets.
I have something.
falls deep in like with her. She does get pregnant. She ends up listening to his advice, tries not to tell anyone, but what happens?
She tells everybody.
Why does she tell people?
Because her friend was like, oh.
That's when the best friend comes in and convinces her to tell people. Once she tells people, who finds out?
Hera.
Hera finds out, who is not happy, goes down to confront her, but knows she can't look like Hera.
Old lady.
So she changes into old lady, goes and confronts Simile. What does she convince Simile of?
Zeus is fake.
That it was a fake Zeus. So how do you prove it's a real Zeus? There you go, into the true form, which makes Simile all unhappy. She waits for Zeus to show up. Zeus shows up. She starts yelling at him until Zeus finally snaps. He gets unhappy, shows his true form. What happens to her?
Baby, she dies.
She goes kapoofity.
Baby,
What about baby?
fall down.
Baby fall down, go splat. What does Zeus do with baby?
Have to open leg and put inside of the leg.
Put baby inside of leg until baby's full term. Baby is born, and he then wants baby to have throne, but we already have all the thrones filled up. So who gives up throne? Hestia does. What is it he becomes god of? Wine. What is he known for throwing?
Parties.
And what happens at the parties?
He kills people.
Sometimes he kills people, other times it's a rockin' good party. And what happens at his parties that we get to today?
He gets drunk.
He kills
He
that.
kills people.
I was gonna go with theater, but apparently we're focused on the drunk part. The theater is what I was going with, and then we still have the little mask symbols today. Hi, Drinky.
Can I do sound effects for the story?
I thought
It's
that
not letting me. It
Oh,
says my
no.
network's
No,
not
I have the
stable.
app.
we'll see how distracting it becomes.
It won't be.
You say so. Then, did we get into the story of Hades?
No, we were about
Oh, sweet. All right, let's start our fun story for today. Then. So, you should have a lot of chances for sound effects depending on how well you pay attention today. So we'll see.
Not gonna wait
Alright.
for
So,
to.
for the story today, Hades gets lonely. He's been living down in the underworld, doing pretty well, but eventually he realizes he wants to get himself a wife or a girlfriend. Trouble is,
I'm not a wasteful
he's
girl.
not real good at talking to women. But he ends up finding this Titan girl that he thinks is really cute. A girl by the name of Persephone. Turns out, Persephone is Demeter's daughter. And since she's Demeter's daughter, she...
Oh my goodness.
Turn it off. It's actually annoying.
This might be a little distracting. With Persephone being Demeter's daughter, it means she lives up on Earth. So, Hades can't just go take her as a wife. He has to get permission. Who does he have to get permission from? From Zeus.
Oh.
So, he goes and talks to Zeus, like, hey, I've got this crush on this girl, but she's in your kingdom. Is there any chance that you would give me permission to go and, take her as my wife? Zeus goes, yeah. Yeah, they're all related, remember, Alabama. And so Zeus goes, yep, I like that idea. He goes, I think that's a great idea. I'm proud of you for getting out there into the dating pool. So he gives Hades the thumbs up and says, go for it, buddy. Problem is, Hades is still not real good at talking to women. So the idea of going and talking to her scares him. He says, if only there was a way to just jump past this and go straight to having her as my wife and skipping over the whole talking to her. I have an idea. He decides the best way to skip that early part of dating that's awkward is you just kidnap her. And if you just kidnap your wife and go straight to throwing her in your basement, it saves so many awkward moments. So that's what he decides to do. He watches her from a distance, stays underground, goes full creepy mode, until eventually he sees her out playing in a field. I'll admit, sometimes I might elaborate some of the stories to make them more interesting. This was a thing that was actually in the story I read, which amazed me. He goes and captures her by fishing for her, using a flower. Because apparently they had a game that they used to play called Who Can Find the Best Flower? And what you would do would run around a field to see who could find the coolest flower, and then you would trash talk your friends. This is what kids did prior to TikTok. So he sees her running around in this big open field, sticks his flower up through the ground to get her attention, and then like fishing, he wiggles it like a lure back and forth. She sees the flower, thinks it's the coolest flower ever because it's like half the size of her, starts throwing elbows into her friend's face, and she's like, that's my flower, knocking them down, goes running over to the flower so that she can pluck it and brag to her friends. But when she does, she tries to pluck it, but instead of pulling up the flower pulls her down. And as soon as she goes underneath, she is now in Hades' territory. Once she's in Hades' territory, she now becomes part of his property. She cannot escape. And he goes, hey, my name is Hades. You are now in the underworld. You are now my wife. And she goes, I don't want to be your wife. And he goes, that's funny. You have no choice. And makes her become his wife down in the underworld. Now, the two of them are living together down there, but she is super depressed and unhappy, does not want to be down there. Well, the person who wants it even less than her is her mom, which is... So, Demeter can't find her daughter. Her daughter's gone, has no idea what happened to her. So Demeter starts asking around and eventually bumps into Apollo and sees Apollo. And Apollo's like, oh, yeah, I saw your daughter. When I was driving my sun chariot across the sky, she was in this field and the ground opened up and she got sucked down in this pit and I saw Hades down there. So I'm pretty sure he has your daughter. She knows that if Hades has her daughter, the only way he would take her is if he had permission. And who would he get permission from? So she decides to go and confront Zeus about her missing kid. She confronts Zeus and goes, hey, Apollo says he saw Hades take my kid. Hades would not take my kid if you did not give permission. Did you give permission for my daughter to be kidnapped? He says, yes, I did. Aren't you excited that your brother wants to start dating? She goes, yes, but not dating my daughter. He goes, we'll get over it, Alabama. And so she gets really upset about this. So she decides that she is no longer going to do her job. Instead of and what is her job?
Ooh, harvest.
Making all the food,
Sorry, there was an ad.
making all the food grow. So instead of doing her job,
Spin 'em in.
instead she decides to go and get a whole big thing of Haagen-Dazs ice cream and sits in front of Netflix and just watches Grey's Anatomy nonstop. And so she refuses to do her job for 2 full years, where she just sits in front of the TV eating ice cream. Problem is, when she does not do her job, what
There's a
happens to the
famine.
crops?
They die.
All
And
the
there's
crops
famine.
end up dying off. This ends up bothering Zeus, but Zeus does not care about the crops. Zeus does not care about the people dying. But the crops dying and the people dying does affect something he does care about, which would be
His popularity.
his popularity. Because what's no longer happening?
He's not getting sacrificed.
There's no more sacrifices. So Zeus ends up coming down to Earth and confronting humans. He's like, hey, where's my social media feed? Why am I not getting sacrifices? And the humans look at him and go, there's no food. He goes, sounds like a you issue. Sacrifice rocks. And they go, okay. And they go, here's your rock. And they throw it at him. He's like, yeah, that kind of sucks. He's like, well, what do I need to do to make you sacrifice to me so that I can get my popularity back? They go, it's easy. Food. He's like, anything else? They go, no, food. He goes, fine. So he goes back to talk to Demeter. He goes, hey, remember when now this is funny. When I got rid of your daughter, and then like you came and yelled at me, and I was like, get to stepping. That was a joke. Can you make the crops grow again? I'd really like that. Demeter goes, oh, yeah, no. Where's my daughter? He goes, well, I mean, she's down in the underworld, living with your brother. She says, no. The only way those crops grow again is if I get my daughter back. No daughter, no crops. Do you understand? Robin?
Oh my gosh.
That's fine. You can reply. So he goes, all right, fine. If I get your daughter back, will you let the food grow? She goes, yes. So he grabs Hermes. He goes, Hermes, go down to the underworld. Tell Hades he has to send her back up. I made a mistake. So Hermes goes down to the underworld and sees the fact that Persephone's been down there with Hades this whole time. And he goes, hey, bad news. Apparently Zeus made a mistake. You're going to have to let her go. Well, the news makes him really unhappy and ends up making Persephone really happy. She's like, I'm going home. The whole time she's been in the underworld, she has been avoiding Hades. She would go into her little bedroom, put in AirPods, and just ignore everything. She wasn't eating dinner. She wasn't hanging out with anybody. She was trying to ignore him as much as possible, which made Hades sad. They've had AirPods forever. That's ridiculous. And so Hades goes, all right, fine. There's not much I can do, but he knows he can't fight Zeus. It'd be a bad choice. So he goes, all right, I will release her, and she gets to come back up. But, and he goes and talks to Persephone. He goes, hey, so you heard the news? And she's like, yeah, I did. He goes, all right, can I have one request before you go? She goes, what? He goes, well, the whole time you've been down here, you've been pouting. And like you and I don't get a chance to talk. You've not eaten any of my food. Will you at least sit down to dinner with me once and treat me like a real person so I can have a memory of this before you go? She says, oh, okay, fine, I can do that. So she sits down to a dinner. Mason, go for it. And at this dinner, she still does not have much of an appetite overall. Apparently, being kidnapped for 2 years kind of makes you not super hungry. But there's a piece of fruit in front of her that she starts to nibble on. And it's a piece of fruit called a pomegranate. You have never seen one.
Yeah, I have.
So
They're so yummy.
they are. My kids love them. If they're really tart also. If you've never seen a pomegranate, the best way I can describe it is imagine what looks like a really big orange, but it's red instead of the color orange, but it looks like an orange. And you peel the skin off of it. There's not slices. It looks like red blueberries on the inside. and you can pluck out these little blueberries that are technically seeds, and you can eat them. And they're really good. You can get things like pomegranate juice, palm juice, they have palm flavored gum and stuff like that. So pomegranate. So while she's down there with him for this meal, she eats like 5 of the seeds while he's sitting there talking. She's just like, see, I'm eating. Yeah. And she eats about 5 of the seeds. Once she's done eating, Hades goes, thank you. I appreciate you at least giving me that. Now you can head back up. And she goes back up to Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus, she goes to see Zeus. She's like, I'm home. Everything is great. And Zeus goes, I'm happy to have you here. And he looks at her and goes, you look different. What's wrong? She goes, I was kidnapped for 2 years. I've been living in a room in the underworld. He goes, no, that's not it. Wait, when you were down there, were you eating food down there? She goes, no, I never ate food down there because gods don't have to eat as long as they have the nectar and ambrosia. She goes, I never ate any food down there. He goes, never once. You never had food. She goes, well, okay, last night before I left, I had like a couple bites of a pomegranate, like a couple seeds, but that was just last night. Zeus goes, that's not good. Problem is, in the underworld, the food down there is cursed. If you eat food from the underworld, you become part of the underworld. And he goes, since you had part of that pomegranate, you are now part of Hades. You can't leave Hades. You have to go back down. There's nothing I can do about it. This is a rule that goes above me. And she says, what? No, you can't. He's like, I don't have a choice. Demeter comes running in. She goes, no, you are not sending my daughter back down there. He goes, I don't have, she goes, you bring Hades up here right now. And Hades gets brought up to Mount Olympus. And he's like, where's my wife? And because he knows that he tricked her into that. That was a weird choice. And he knows that he tricked her into it. And Zeus goes, I don't know. And Demeter goes, listen. And she looks at Persephone. She goes, did you eat the entire pomegranate? She goes, no, I had like 5 seeds. She looks at Hades. She goes, see? She did not eat the whole pomegranate. She had part of a pomegranate. So how about she spends part of the year with you and part of the year with me? She ate, how many seeds? 5. 5 seeds. So how about 5 months she spends with you, the other months she spends with me? How about that? And Hades thinks about it. He realizes he could push it, but it'd be starting a fight with Zeus. He doesn't really want to start a fight. So he goes, okay, I will agree to that. 5 months of the year, she's with me. The rest of the year, she's with you. Which at least makes him somewhat happy. Persephone, still not all the way happy about it, but she's like, at least I'm not down there all the time. Problem is, this creates a new season. Up until now, we only had summer the entire time. Crops always growed, it was always sunny outside, things were great. So summertime, Persephone is with her mom, everything is growing and good. But now she starts to get depressed every year and thinks about her daughter leaving and no longer being with her. And that gives us what season?
Fall.
Fall. And then we get to the point where she's now sad because her daughter's gone, living in the underworld. Living in the underworld, and because of that, she now refuses to work. Nothing grows. Haagen-Dazs and Grey's Anatomy. What season is that?
Winter.
And that's where winter comes in. And then she's like, ooh, my daughter's coming back. I have to make the world look pretty. So she starts putting out flowers and making everything green again.
Spring.
And that gives us spring. Then they're back together, and that becomes
Summer.
and it becomes a full cycle.
Summer, fall.
So
Which is
winter
so
and
exciting.
summer are like the only 2.
The only real summer seasons are summer and winter, together and apart. The other 2, spring and fall, are just kind of ones that exist in between. Excuse me. So, the issue with this is prior to all of this, we never had winter out there, which becomes a new thing for humans to experience. So, to rewind a little bit, who taught humans how to do sacrificing? Prometheus.
Oh.
And who got mad at humans learning sacrifices? Zeus.
Because they didn't leave anything for her.
So, what was the warning that Zeus gave to Prometheus?
I'll torture you.
If you ever go behind my back again, I will torture you until you want to die. Well, this is going to bring us to our next story in a second. I zoomed in on this one for you guys to see it. So it is from the picture over there behind Big Yogle. Who's the guy in blue, gray, pouting? Hades. The girl in yellow yelling at him? Demeter. And then the girl in blue who looks sad?
Persephone.
And that's Persephone. And so those become the three gods there. Hades, Demeter, Persephone. So now let's get to Prometheus's other big poor choice that's going to lead to the bad stuff. So at this point, humans have been doing well with all summertime because it was always warm out. Problem is, humans don't have fire. Cameron?
Wait.
I am.
You know.
Good conversation.
Yeah.
But Zeus did not want humans to have fire. He refused to give them fire, which was bad because now that there's winter time, humans are starting to freeze and die off.
Make a joke.
They're like kid popsicles. Thanks. So what he does is his two reasons for not giving humans fire. One, there was a prophecy that said the world would be destroyed by flames, and he was afraid that if you gave humans fire, that they would destroy the world because they were kind of dumb. It's like giving a 3-year-old a blowtorch and letting them run around a fireworks factory. Nothing good comes from it. So he's like, humans, you can't have fire. You're not responsible enough. The other reason, which is actually the more important reason, without fire, humans don't have good weapons. They have like clubs and stumps and sticks and stuff like that. And when he comes down and stomps on them to get out his anger issues, he would go down to earth and stomp on people. All they could do is like smack his toes. And he would just giggle. And he's like, giggle, giggle, that tickles. If humans have fire, then much like Hephaestus, they can start shaping metal and making really powerful weapons, which would hurt him if he came down. It wouldn't kill him. It just takes the fun out of it. Imagine that you have a hobby of in the summertime, you take off your socks and shoes and you go find like an anthill and you just stomp on the ants and you're like, die, ants, die. And stomping on ants brings you joy. And then one day you go out there and the ants have figured out how to use super glue and thumbtacks, and they put thumbtacks on all of their backs. So when you go to stomp on them, it pokes your feet. Does it kill you? Does it make you annoyed? Exactly. So that's Zeus's. He's like, I don't want humans to have fire because either they're going to burn the world or they're going to hurt me with it. So no fire for humans. But
We have fire.
we do have fire because of Prometheus in a second. Humans start dying off from all of this cold. And Zeus says, I don't care. If this race of humans dies, I'll just start a new race that is stronger and not as much of a wussy. But Prometheus feels bad. He's like, listen, we've put a lot of time into this group of humans. We taught them sacrificing, stuff like that. I prefer we not kill them off. And Zeus goes, do not give humans fire. You understand? He goes, I won't give them fire. I completely understand. That night, he waits for Zeus to go to bed. And when Zeus goes to bed, Prometheus goes and grabs the fire and then goes down to this human village. He's like, I'm going to help these humans out. But he also knows that Zeus can be mean. He's like, if I just come down and put a fire in this village for them to help them, Zeus is going to create like a flood and get rid of all the fire. So there has to be a way that I can help humans where Zeus can't just put out all the fires. So how can he help the humans? Teach them fire. Michael? Through the nurse? Yeah, you can pass it back there. He goes, if I teach them how to use fire, then I don't have to worry about Zeus taking it away. So he goes down and finds the humans, and he goes, all right, here's what you do. And he shows them how to pick up 2 sticks. He goes, you pick up 2 sticks, and you just go, shaka, 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 and then fire comes out. And the humans think it's the greatest thing in the world. Like, it's awesome. He goes, I agree. Problem is, it can't just be this village. We need as many villages to know this as possible. So tonight, run to any village you can and show them how to do these shaka shaka stick things and start a fire. So that night, the humans take off running to every village they can to show them how to start these fires. Next morning, Zeus wakes up, looks out, sees the fact that there's fire all over the ground, freaks out, thinks the world's on fire, and then discovers it's not on fire. Humans are doing the shucka shucka stick thing. He's like, what? How did humans how to learn to... Only one person would be smart enough to teach humans how to do the shucka shucka stick thing, and that would be Prometheus. So he calls Prometheus, like, Prometheus, come up here. And Prometheus shows up, and he goes, hey, it looks like humans have a whole bunch of fire down there. Any idea how that happened? And Prometheus, again, not a good liar, goes, yeah, boss, that was me. I was afraid they were going to die off. I know you said not to, but I went behind your back. I'm really sorry about this. I showed them how to make fire, so you can't just kill them, because now they all know how to do it. So let's just move on from that. Zeus goes, okay. No. I told you last time, if you go behind my back, I get to torture and kill you. Not bad. And so he says, here's how it's going to work. He grabs Prometheus and drags him to the highest mountain he can find. On this mountain, he wraps these adamantium unbreakable chains around his wrists and ankles and chains him to the top of a mountain. Then, the mountain is so high up that Apollo's sun chariot goes right by where he is, and it burns off all of his skin every day, turning him into a big piece of bacon. Does that kill him?
No.
No, he's a god. Does it hurt? Yeah, buddy. But he's not done. He goes, on top of that, every morning, this giant bird is going to show up, land on you, and is going to eat your liver every single day. So that's what's going to happen. And he goes, this is going to last until forever. Or, if you answer one question for me, then I will free you. That one question would be, what is Prometheus' special ability?
Oh my God!
Seeing the future. And what is the one thing that Zeus is really afraid of?
Being overthrown.
Being overthrown. So what's the one question he wants Prometheus to answer?
Will I be overthrown?
Not will I.
Why not?
Not when.
How?
Closer.
Who?
Who overthrows me? He goes, you tell me who overthrows me, I will free you. Prometheus refuses because he knows as soon as he gives up a name, what will Zeus do? And so he stays up there for thousands of years until he's eventually freed by one of Zeus's sons, who becomes the strongest god to ever exist.
Atlas.
Hercules.
Hercules.
Nicely done. Tomorrow, we have our quiz covering all of our stories from this week.